Hey everyone, welcome back to Orchid 101. Today we're going to be talking about Dendrobium orchid, and we are going to be repotting this Dendrobium orchid. And the reason why we're going to be repotting this one is because I noticed that it's starting to I don't know what's going on with this leaf here, but if you can tell, it looks like it's kind of rotting. There's some brownish yellowing. The media that it has, it looks like it's pretty deteriorated. It's kind of breaking down, and I'm afraid that there's some mold going on in there. So we're just gonna repot it now. This is the original media that it came in. I bought this orchid a little bit ago, I think back in, just read. Yeah, I bought it back in January. Well, I bought it this month, but I think I bought it towards the beginning of the month. And because it was in bloom, I didn't repot it because I don't normally like to repot orchids when they're in bloom. But because I found that it's not doing too well, and because of the condition that this leaf is in, I don't want it to affect the rest of the leaves because it does have healthier leaves up here. So it's a pretty tall orchid. It's very top heavy, so I have to have it leaning up against this canister back here. So we're gonna go ahead and repot this, and hopefully we don't find much mold down here, but let's just see what we find, and hopefully we can save it in time and it does start to do a little bit better. Now the flowers are not showing any signs of anything going on with them yet. They're still pretty healthy, very open, you know, standing up very, very nice and tall. But before it reaches up here, I want to go ahead and stop whatever's going on down here. So I'm just going to repot it. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a little tiny it has little tiny mites. Yep. And they're kind of crawling on my hands. So before I keep going, I'm gonna go ahead and put my gloves on, and we're just gonna get this right out of the pot and into new media right away. Okay, so we are all set up now for us to go ahead and start doing this. I have my gloves on. So I have a few new people to my channel, so we're gonna go ahead and start doing the repotting similar to how we do repottings for any orchid. And I'm gonna show you guys again step by step on how to do this. Now I do have other videos on repotting orchids, but since this is a dendrobium, I'm just gonna do it step by step with you guys. So the first thing that we're gonna go ahead and do is we are going to go ahead, it's really top heavy, so I have to have it leaning up against something. It just doesn't want to stay right now. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and sterilize our scissors or snips or anything that you guys want to use as a cutting tool, because in case that this has any roots that are rotted or anything that needs to be cut away, we want to have something to cut with. So I'm gonna go ahead and use alcohol for this process with a little cute cotton ball, and we're just gonna go ahead and quickly sterilize our cutting tool. Now you guys can sterilize with fire if you guys have like a little blowtorch, or you can sterilize with any other liquid that works for sterilization. So just a quick sterilizing. Okay, so now we have sterilized snips. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the tag. Now this is a Dendrobium bigibum, which is a pretty common dendrobium. This is one of the most one of the most common dendrobiums that you guys will probably see in the nurseries. So we're just gonna go ahead and wiggle this pot to just kind of squeeze the medium around so that we don't cause any damage when we're pulling this out of here. So just a quick wiggle. Now we're gonna go ahead and try to pull. I'm gonna try to do this step really carefully, because if there is any rotting, I don't want to pull the plant out and have it break on me. Okay, I'm just gonna pull the spike support stake up. Okay, so at first glance, it does look to be not too bad, but you know, again, looks can be deceiving. So we're just gonna start taking all of this sphagnum moss out and just take a look, you know, just so that we can get a better look in here. Now we want to be real careful when we do this step. We don't want to break too many roots. Now, if you break 1 or 2 roots, as I've mentioned in my previous videos with repotting, it's not too detrimental to the orchid, but you do not want to break too many roots because that can leave a lot of open wounds for the orchid, and that can cause a lot of bacteria to get in, and it can just cause a lot of issues for the orchid later on. So we just want to be as gentle as we could be. So just gently wiggling everything around, squeezing it, just kind of moving it around, massaging it. Dendrobiums, if you're buying them from the nurseries or, you know, grocery stores or garden shops or anything, they do like to pot them in straight sphagnum moss most of the time, so they do become very compact the majority of the times. So after a while of being in a pot, they become very, very compact, and the roots start to grow around them, sort of like a snake. So just be very gentle, wiggle it around, massage it to make it, loosen it up, and then, you know, it'll kind of just fall on its own. And then at the same time, be careful, you know, with the, my nose is itchy, with the pseudobulbs up here while you're holding it. You don't want to hold it too tight either, because you don't want to break it, anything. So we're actually having very nice weather here today for the first time. We've been having temperatures of in the 40s and 50s here in Florida. So I was actually very excited to wake up and have some warmer weather today. So I think this is the first video since I have started recording videos on YouTube that I do not wear a sweater. So if you guys are seeing a little bit more skin today, that is why. It is very, very nice. So, okay. Okay, now the rest of this does look like it is a little bit stuck on here, so I do not want to force it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run this under the faucet in the sink to try to soften it up a little bit. So I will be right back with you. Okay guys, so I am back from the sink. I have taken all of the sphagnum moss out from in between the roots, and as you guys can see, we do seem to have a lot of healthy roots. I did not find any roots that were rotted or anything like that. Now, I did see a little bit of browning here, you know, something that could be the start of some stem rot. I did see that we have like a little bit of new growth right here. I don't know if you guys can see right there, a little bit of new growth right around here. So, you know, it does seem to have a healthy root system and a healthy growth system. This was all like covered underneath the sphagnum moss, so it wasn't really able to come out. So, you know, I'm not entirely sure what is wrong with this leaf or why it did this, or, you know, why it's showing that, you know, all this mold here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this leaf off anyways, just so that it won't affect anything else, just in case. But hopefully, you know, we caught it in time You know, inspecting everything else, you know, everything else looks sort of healthy. So I'm not too worried now that I've taken it out of all that old moss. So let's go ahead and now repot it. So before I repot this, actually, I want to take care of those little mites that I saw. And now I'm not too sure that they were mites now, because I think they were little spiders, because I did see a little bit of spider webs up here, and those are not too harmful to the orchids, but just to be on the safe side, because I'm not too sure what they were, I'm just gonna go ahead and dunk this in a little bit of peroxide for just about 10 to 15 minutes. Like I said, just to be on the safe side, because I wasn't sure if those were little spiders or if they were mites, and I also don't know if what that leaf had was mold or, you know, anything else that would be harmful. So just to be on the safe side and to kill anything that this orchid might have, I'm just gonna go ahead and dunk this for about 10 to 15 minutes in this peroxide. And once it's in there for that little bit of time, then we'll be right back and start the repotting process. All right, I'll be right back with you. Okay guys, so we've had it in here for about 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out now. And we're gonna go ahead and start repotting this. Now, the pot that I'm gonna use for this orchid is gonna be a self-watering pot. Just because I feel like it was struggling and it didn't get enough of, you know, nutrients that it could have gotten and everything. So I'm just gonna use a self-watering pot for a little bit. I do have one other orchid in these types of pots, and it seems to be doing fairly well. And I don't have to water it all that much like my other orchids. So I am trying to test out these pots a little bit more. So I have it in a phalaenopsis, so now I'm gonna go ahead and test it out with Dendrobium. So we're gonna just use one of these pots for it. So the way self-watering pots work is they have these little strings. For those of you who don't know, they have these little strings that works as a wicking kind of material. So you fill up the, let me just show you guys real quick. It goes like that, and you fill up the bottom part of the clear portion of the pot, maybe up to the fill line there. I don't know if you guys can see the little fill line, with water, and the string will work as a wick, and it'll pull the water into the white pot for the plant to absorb the water and, you know, always be hydrated and moist, you know, for a majority of the time. Now, because Dendrobiums require moisture for most of the time, unlike other types of orchids, that's why I want to go ahead and use this pot today. So we're going to go ahead and just start putting our media in here. And similar to my other types of mixtures, I'm going to use a mixture of sphagnum moss and the bark chips. And then I'm also going to be adding some slow release fertilizer in there too, just to give it a little bit extra help with its growth. And it is slow release fertilizer, so that's why I'm just adding it in there, because I'm not too worried about it being over fertilized or under fertilized. So just a little bit on the bottom, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the orchid in there. Center it as best as I can. Stake. And then we're gonna start filling all around it. Okay, so we have the orchid in the white pot now. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually I hate it how these orchids are really top heavy. They just have like no stability. So I'm actually going to tie a little piece of, I'm going to add an extra little tie down here just to give it a little bit more support. Hopefully that helps it a little bit. Okay, and now I'm just gonna add a little bit of water just to get all of that media wet and all that sphagnum moss wet. Okay, and now I'm gonna go ahead and add the water to the canister up until the fill line. Try not to go above the fill line if you're using self-watering pots, because once you go above the fill line for these pots, you're risking the plant always being submerged in water, your orchid always being submerged in water, and you don't want that because the orchids should not be submerged in water. The string will work as it should, and you know, we want to let it do what it needs to do. So just try to use the fill line. That's why it's there. And then we're going to go ahead and place it in the clear pot. And there you have it. So hopefully I'll keep an eye on this, and we will be able to see if it grows a little bit more, if it produces new pseudobulbs. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think. If any of you know why that leaf went black like that, or if you guys have a Dendrobium orchid that did the same thing, you know, how did you guys fix it to prevent it from doing that? Let me know down in the comments how you fixed it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was beneficial for you if you're having an orchid that's having the same issues. And like and subscribe. I try to post as often as I can. Follow me on Facebook. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.